Alright, listen up everyone. I have written this masterpiece about Jin and Kazuya's destruction. We will also include newer, more serious character in the story as well, to complement everything perfectly. Our game will surpass each and every anime that exists. It'll be legendary.
Boss, that sounds really good. But what about other characters? Those that are already more of a comic relief, or the ones that fans really like, but who aren't Mishimas?
Sure. We'll include some of them. We can't be too serious after all.
Really? That's so great to hear. And since we have a tradition of story modes for each character, we could put some of our writers to do that as well.
Writers? Oh no, my sweet boy. I've given that project to my son. His brother crushed it in Tekken 7, but this boy is something else. You'll see. Come in, son. Show us what you've got.
So, I was thinking that we get Lily to be the best, cause she's really pretty.
Oh boy.
And we also get Yoshimitsu and Brian to go boom. And Brian is Mad Max.
See? These are amazing.
Yeah, time to quit. Side characters, the ones that no one cares about. Now that I'm back into Tekken, I thought to myself, what better way to get a fresh start than to talk about my old videos. Oh relax, this is just to check whether or not my favorite characters have gotten the story improvements that they deserve. As I already mentioned, I will revisit 3 characters that I already have videos on, and I'll check whether or not side stories are better than they were in the last 2 games. This will also act as an overview of this entire game mode. So that's pretty neat. I recommend watching videos about Paul, Law and Asuka first, since a lot of this will continue on those stories, but I'll try to make this a standalone video as well, since a lot of concepts are applied to other side characters as well. But I don't want to bore you anymore, so let's jump in. Since all of our main characters for today appear in the main story, we can start from there. And well, the results are kinda bad. But before we start with the positives, make sure to like and subscribe, as my voice hurts from making that bit earlier. Thanks. Now let's start with the positives. Even though I was frightened by Paul's design at first sight, I have grown to like it more as time passed on. And even though he does look like Karen, it isn't really noticeable anymore. His design is better than in Tekken 7, that's for sure. Also, I like the change to his character. He seems to have gotten at least 10 IQ points back and doesn't seem like an idiot anymore. Also, he has the most screen time in the main story, and we can see that his goal is back to taking down Kazuya, rather than on the money, which was more of Law's thing anyway. But we will get to Law. He is one of the reasons that I wanted to start with the positives. But back to Paul. His presence isn't really felt in the main story. He appears in 2 scenes and both of them aren't really that important to the plot. But hey, at least he's there, I can't complain. Also, he's not fighting a bear that isn't Kuma, so even that's an improvement. Standards were set so low that this is a big plus in my book. So for story appearance, Paul gets a passing grade. His episode, however, is a bit of a different story. But this is more of a critique of the mode itself rather than Paul. Mode is set in one map for all 5 stages. But our friend Paul here has to pick up martial law. I'm sorry Paul, from where are you picking him up exactly? You're riding to the same place over and over again. Are you stuck in a PT-like space and keep going in circles? I guess so. Well, Paul does keep going in circles until he triggers some change in the environment and he eventually finds Law. Law is pissed at him for being late, and they both decide that the most logical solution to the problem is to just fight it out. Because that won't make them late at all. Who wrote this thing? This intern should be fired right away. Oh, it was you. Right. By the way, why is the setting to this story Yakushima? I'm sorry, I didn't know that Law is related to Shrek and that's why he lives in the swamp. Also, Yakushima is in Japan, and both of them are from US. Make it make sense, guys. Is there really no better place to this story? Moving on, they both go to the tournament and they almost die on Paul's bike. But the dumbest part of this entire story, which is supposed to be taking place during the exact same time as the tournament by the way, is the ending of this cutscene. Paul and Law are both late to the qualifiers. How? We've seen them both in the main story. Make it make sense, guys. Seriously, I know that this isn't canon, but come on! Isn't it that hard to make two stories in the same timeline? This isn't Marvel. How can they be at the tournament and then arrive late at the same time? Someone, please explain this to me. Please!
You can't keep getting away with it!
Sorry, got a bit carried away there. As you can tell, I am not very pleased with this story. And I have a feeling that it will be the same story with other characters as well. But I won't judge in advance. So let's take a look at another character from this story. Martial Law. Right from the get-go, Law has probably had the worst transition to Tekken 8 out of our 3 people today. He has gotten significantly older, but that is a positive given how he looked earlier anyway. So I guess that this isn't a bad thing, but that's beside the point. But he has remained obsessed with money though, to the point that he would join Kazuya's side. What? Is he that petty that he would rather watch the world burn than to forgive Paul for not splitting his share of the prize?
Finally, inner peace.
Also, I don't blame Paul for not sharing since we've seen how conniving and cheap Law is. So for main story, it is a big L for Law. But maybe his episode is better.
Great news! What?
His episode is better, but not by much. As Law, you need to beat out all the rich people. Hence why his quote,
I hate rich people!
which gets tiring after hearing it 4 times in 4 minutes. But other than that, and the fights not making sense canonically, it has been okay. His ending is played up to be a joke, and it was funny to me this time. Even though they did bring Law down to one and only trait again, and that is money, which kills him eventually. Does that mean that there's no Law in Tekken 9? I guess we'll find out. I'm kidding obviously, but the best part was definitely finding out that Law still owes Paul money, even though he is the owner of the entire Zaibatsu now. So this means that writers are decent at jokes, but not much else. Unless someone from outside the team wrote this ending. Anyway, Law played up to my expectations perfectly. I knew that he wouldn't do much, and sadly, I was right. Last but not least, we'll mention one of the characters with the most wasted potential, Asuka Kazama, the one character that should have removed the need for John to ever appear again, but here we are, and so is John. So did we see an improvement with Asuka? Did she finally meet Jin? Was she important? Well, no, yes, and no. Except almost everyone would forget that she met up with Jin, since it looked like this. Aside from that, her presence in the story is almost non-existent. Most of the time I would mistake Asuka for Lily's younger sister. And not the cool one, but the one that's tagging along because their mom forced Lily to bring her. Most important moment in the story for her was saving Alyssa from Jax. And she is one of a few characters that isn't playable in the main story, even though she features in it. I think that it's only her and Hwarang that you can't play as. And that feels really targeted at me, because those are 2 of my favorites. So that's always nice to see. But what about her episode then? Well, this is one of the most bland ones, so it's fitting for Asuka's role in the story really. She's fighting in the same arena that Law is, and if she wins, she gets her dojo back from Lily. I don't think that anyone even cares about that dojo, since this is a new plotline from the last game, and even there it was dumb. But if you've played the previous 3 or 4 games, you know that she ends up being a loser even in her winning endings. And we are sticking to the theme here. And this time, Asuka does get her dojo back. But once again, Lily ruins her day and talks smack, which causes them to fight. If you've seen one Asuka ending, you've seen them all really. But that about wraps it up. Judging by these 3 stories, this mode is kinda meh. Better than the last game's episodes, but not by much honestly. What do you think about side characters' plots this time around? Let me know down below. Also, these are just some examples of episodes mode. There are way more, but hey, I need to keep making videos out of something, don't I? If you'd like to watch more content like this, make sure to like and subscribe, and I leave you to enjoy the rest of your day. Bye!